Hi, my relatives. Thank you so much for joining in for another episode of Our Storytellers. On today's episode, we're joined by Linda Calla, and Linda is a matriarch of the Squamish Nation. She is, well, she's just amazing, honestly. I mean, her family has stories about the amalgamation of Squamish Nation. She talks about what it was like growing up being disenfranchised, and mom and her talk about Bill C-31, which is the, I guess, piece of legislation that allowed Indigenous women to come back to their communities after they were disenfranchised. So I learned a lot during this conversation. I hope you will as well. So without further ado, please welcome to the Our Storytellers podcast, which this one is actually brought to you by our partners at the Indigenous Screen Office, Linda Calla.
Hello, my relatives. How are you? Here at Our Storytellers, we care about your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical well being, which is why we want to inform you that this podcast discusses topics that may cause trauma to listeners and viewers. These subjects include mentions of Indian residential schools, assimilation, ongoing harm, colonial impacts, and much more. Our Storytellers recognizes the need to minimize risks associated with traumatic subject matter. The Hope for Wellness Helpline offers immediate help to all Indigenous people across Canada. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to offer immediate support and crisis intervention. Services are available in English and French, and in Nehiyaw, Anishinaabe and Inuktitut upon request. If you or someone you know are experiencing any harm, no matter how big or small it's perceived to be, you can call the toll-free helpline at 1-855-242-3310 or connect to the online chat at www.hopeforwellness.ca. Kinanaskuman, I'm grateful for you. Your ancestors are always with you. All my relations, Riel.
Linda, thanks so much for coming and hanging out and sharing some stories with Mom and I. It means so much. I mean, to quickly introduce myself, and I know it got super official there, like so fast. I mean, everything's fine. We keep chatting the way you were chatting, but I have some protocol here for you. My name is Riel. I'm actually Métis from Nehiyaw and Soto background. My dad and all my family actually are from Manitoba, but I grew up out here, and I've lived on this reserve for the past 7-8 years of my life, and been so grateful. And we have an honorarium here for you that's brought to you and funded by the Indigenous Screen Office, who's been a great partner in producing these podcasts. And it just felt right to make sure that any honorarium went back to the matriarchs of the nation that's taken care of me, and the women that have taken care of me for the past who knows how long while I was finishing university and everything like that. So we really want to make sure that was all set, and we have a blanket and some tobacco here for you as well. And yeah, it just means so much to have you here. And I'm going to pass this over, and just please introduce yourself in your own way.
Sďwx. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Linda Calla. I'm a member of the Squamish Nation. I'm a Bill C-31 inductee. And I am very, very proud to be a member of our community. I enjoy living. I've worked in our community. I've worked with other Indigenous communities, and for me, it's truly been a blessing. It's truly been a blessing. I've been very excited to find and strengthen my ties to the community and ties to my family as well. So my heritage is I come from the Baker and Joseph families, and that's on my mother's side. And on my dad's side, my dad was Canadian born, but both of his parents were immigrants from Italy when they were in their teens. My Italian family came from a small town in Reggio Calabria called Mumala. And I've been
Cool.
very, very fortunate to visit there twice. And it was a very emotional experience, to walk. It's a typical old European town, cobblestones, narrow streets. And you walk those cobbled streets and you go into a church and you think, my grandparents, they walked these streets. They probably sat in these pews. And it was really exciting to be able to have that connection. As far as my Indigenous family, I can trace my Indigenous family back 7 generations. My mother's name was Olive Mary Band Calla. She and my father married in 1951. They had their wedding reception at the old hall in, it was called the Henry Hall in North Vancouver.
Mhm.
And they were married at St. Paul's Church. And
How did they meet?
my mother was a waitress in a restaurant in Granville Street,
Yeah.
close to the movie theaters. And I guess my dad went in as a customer, and that's where they met.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so, we're talking 1949, 1950, so
Yeah.
long time ago.
Couple years after the war,
Yeah, yeah. Things were pretty good then. But my mom did grow up on the res. My grandfather's name was his real name was Casimir. That was his on his official records, but his nickname was Gus. So his name was Casimir or Gus Joseph George Band. And his Squamish name was a Hilton. His father was born a Joseph. And for some reason or other, I don't know why, the church changed his last name from Joseph to Band.
Oh, they did that a lot, though. I think
I've heard that.
with people.
It wasn't that unusual for some official, whether it be the church, the government. I've even heard in some cases where employers would change individuals' last names, especially if they worked on the waterfront.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
There
You
was
know.
a different relationship with what went on down there in the hiring of people
Mhm.
and stuff.
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah. So my grandfather was a longshoreman, and I've always known. All of my life's recollection, I've known about the 1923 amalgamation. The reason being is that my grandfather, Gus, was involved in the amalgamation. He was born, I believe, in 1899, so he was like 20, probably 18, 20 years old when all the discussion of amalgamations first took place.
It took 8 years, I think.
Yes.
Because it started around after the McKenna-McBride Royal Commission
Yes.
was in play.
Yeah, you're right. I believe it took 8 years for all the negotiations and everything to take place.
So just to clarify for myself, the amalgamation was official in 1923,
Correct.
but 8 years before they were starting to work on it.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
The 16 hereditary chiefs that signed the amalgamation were trying to find, because everyone from those 16 villages were all related. We all spoke the same language. So we were all family.
Mhm.
And there was some of in those days, they call them the bands, the Indian bands, some were getting better treatment than others. So that they decided that if they could join together as one community, that would give them the strength and hopefully a little bit more power to help people. help their people.
For our listeners that don't know what amalgamation is, like, what is it exactly? Is it an agreement to bring everybody together under one?
It was actually, the agreement was written to the government as a prayer. And because at the time, of course, we weren't Indigenous people, we weren't able to request anything from the government. We were very limited as to what we could ask for in those days.
They had to ask, that was when the pass system was in place. So you couldn't even move from one reserve to the next without seeing the Indian agent and having a pass for that defined period of time. So it was very restrictive at the time because they weren't going to be doing treaties, and this was to try to effect something in between that, but allow the families to still be considered all families together.
Right.
I believe it wasn't really business or any of those things. It was, like you said, it was a prayer because we're in a time period where their voices weren't being heard at all, men or women, especially women.
Well,
they didn't exist. We didn't
don't
exist.
get me going.
Well, I'll get you going later. Let's see.
Don't worry, we got time.
but so anyway, during that time period, my grandfather spoke fluent Squamish, and he could read and write English. So some of the old hereditary chiefs asked him to help verbally translate and then translate the documents that they were being presented for signature. So that's what my grandfather did. When the amalgamation was signed, some of the chiefs could write and some of them couldn't. They just marked with an X. So my grandfather, all the chiefs that marked with an X, my grandfather witnessed all those signatures. And on the actual, I was trying to find my copy of the amalgamation document and I couldn't find it. But
after we spoke, I couldn't find a copy of it online anywhere.
It's really hard to find.
Okay.
I
know we have
photos
copies
of it.
Yeah.
But they're photos that were...
Yeah, that's all that's left.
That's all that was there. And, they were never given to all families. And never, kind of shared. So it just kind of, a long time passed and then it just came up. And then it was then it kind of became rolled into our reality. But it still wasn't, again, issued to everybody or talked to. So there's a disconnect in
well,
the
there's
thing.
there's still, families say that, some of our chiefs signed under duress and, there was manipulation involved and things like that. And, I kind of thought about it. Thought I don't think our hereditary chiefs back in that day, I don't think they were being naive. I don't think they were manipulated. I think they were pretty strong individuals and they were just asking for consistent, fair treatment.
Right. So,
consistent, fair treatment.
So your grandfather, and are you hearing stories about this growing up?
I've heard this story for as long as I can remember.
Wow.
It's
cool.
something that's, I'm always surprised when I speak to other community members who really don't know about amalgamation. It was the formation of our community not as it is now, but it was the formation of our community. It was a way to bring all of the families back together under one roof.
Right.
Well, to allow them to be, because they were connected as families. I've said that all the families are related.
Yeah.
When you start checking through, because we all summered down here and fished and did all those things, and then we wintered up there and in the valley. And a lot of, and all the families moved back and forth. It wasn't that nobody, that there were not permanent residents here, because some would stay, but the majority of them flowed back and forth between the two residences, and it was a common practice.
Our family had a farm in the Squamish Valley.
Yep.
My mother remembers going up there as a child.
Really?
It was pretty rustic, I gather, but and I do remember as a very young child driving up to Squamish with family before the road was paved.
Yep.
It was only paved as far as Horseshoe Bay, and then it was just a
track.
dirt road. It was an all-day event to go to Squamish.
Yeah, you didn't just go for the day. You went and stayed for a period of time because it was fish camp or it was something was going on.
So I can remember going up there as a child and, walking around the old homestead.
What was growing up for you like?
Well, I didn't grow, because I was a C31, I didn't grow up on the res, but I literally grew up across the street from it. Our house was up by the Asalhan Learning Center. Back then, of course, it was a St. Paul's Indian Day School. There's a section of the road where 5th Street and 6th Street intersect, and then just down the road a little bit is like the old Sisters of the Child Jesus Convent.
Yeah.
And now it's I believe it's part of St. Thomas Aquinas High School. But anyway, and literally across the street was the res. And we used to play there all the time. And, I knew a lot of my Squamish cousins and things, we visited. But I have to tell you this one story because it's about your grandfather.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It was summer, and we always used to play. There was an old baseball backstop because there was a big field because there was nothing there. There were no houses there. Was nothing.
Yeah, there's houses there now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Which is beside where the Aslahan is.
Okay.
That's the field you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I know you remember it.
Yes, I do.
Anyway, we used to play ball there after dinner in once, this time of year, right, when the nights were getting longer. Yeah. And sometimes some of the nuns would come and play with us. But one evening we were over there, and your grandpa used to be the caretaker at the school.
Yep.
And he and your mom and sometimes some of the kids would come. So obviously school was still in because he was going in to do his work, right?
Yeah.
And some of a couple of your uncles and aunts. Anyway, we were playing ball out there, and they wandered over, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And we're like, "We're playing ball." "This is the res." I went, "Yeah, we know."
Yeah.
So anyway, and they're like, "You guys shouldn't be here." And so, we just kept playing and ignored them. And finally they went away. And about 10 minutes later, your grandfather comes down on his crutches.
Yeah, he was crippled.
And he was like, "Hey, what are you kids doing here?" And he was being kind of not mean, but he was being stern, right? He didn't want a bunch of white kids playing on his field.
Yeah.
What it came down to. But nevertheless, so I was a really sensitive kid. I remember going home crying. "There's a man, he's yelling at us for being on the field." And my mother goes, "Who?" I said, "The man that cleans up over at the school." She goes, "I know who that is." So my mom goes storming over to the school, and she finds your grandfather. And she said to him, "Why were you yelling at my children?" He goes, "I wasn't yelling at your children." He goes, "I was yelling at some white kids over there." She goes, "Those are my children."
Those are my kids. Oh no.
So your grandfather said, "Oh, Sally, I'm so sorry." I won't ever do that again. And after that, whenever we saw your grandfather, he was always so happy to see us. So
He was.
yeah,
Oh, there
that
you
was
go.
Really?
It's really funny. I don't remember a lot of things from my childhood, but I remember that distinctively.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. So you were going to school, I guess, growing up, and then
Yeah, I went to St. Edmund's Catholic school.
okay.
Oh yeah.
That must have
Lots
been
of
an
our-
experience in itself. Did you enjoy it?
No.
No.
Yeah. A lot of our kids went through that. Just like anybody that lived on the res and anybody that was around here in this community, many of them went there.
And because at the time, all the members of our family were Catholic.
Yeah.
On both sides, on my Italian side of the family and on my Squamish side of the family.
Oh yeah. So you had it on. You had
Yeah,
both
so
cultures.
yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah, it was an experience. Anyway, I was a wee bit of a rebel all the time as a kid, and I didn't enjoy being there, but I made it through.
When you
And
finished,
successfully, because you graduated
Mhm.
and then you went on and got a further education.
Not very
No.
much further. I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to, first I went to, after St. Edmund's, I went to Hamilton Junior Secondary.
Okay.
And after that, Carson Graham. And I graduated from Carson Graham in 1971.
Ah.
what did you do after?
I worked for a little bit, just, odd kind of jobs. I worked in a restaurant for a bit, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I decided that I registered at what's now called Vancouver City College, and I was taking a bookkeeping course. So it was practical office experience, and I was taking bookkeeping. And when I finished and got my bookkeeping certificate, I was fortunate enough to get a job in a bank. I worked for the Royal Bank.
Right.
And it was, it's a skill that you can kind of put aside for a while. Like, it's great for a woman because you can put those skills, you can put them to bed for a while, have your kids, raise your family, and always go back because
Yeah. Yeah. You have something to go back to.
it's never going to change, right?
Yeah,
banking's
basic
never-
offices and
Yeah.
banking never changes. Yeah, there's skill
Yeah,
sets.
you put the money in, you take the money out. But there's way more to it than that. And I worked my way up. When I first started working in banking, I filed checks.
Yeah.
That's all I did. I filed checks. And then I became a teller. And then I became, and I changed from, I worked for a number of different banks and a couple of different trust companies at the time. So I worked my way up. And when I left banking, I was doing personal loans, mortgages, lines of credit, car loans, those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
So I did that until 2005. Decided it was time for a change, and I got hired by the Sḳwx Cultural Society for the development of the Squamish Lil'wat Cultural Center in Whistler.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I worked on that project for 3 years. Learned a lot about the tourism industry, and it fascinated me.
Did it?
Yeah.
What fascinated you?
Just the experience and the opportunity, if you have, and it's something that requires, tourism industry is something that requires really, really good interpersonal skills.
Yeah.
Because if you're working on a front line in a tourism venue, you have to be prepared to talk to people. And
From everywhere.
yeah. So that really, and I really enjoyed it. I liked the people that I worked with, because I had such a strong customer service experience and skills. I started doing frontline customer service skills training programs in Indigenous communities. And I can say I've hit pretty much every corner of the province of BC with the exception of Haida Gwaii.
Really?
That's the only place I never
That's
got
amazing.
to. Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My mom did that too through economic development with
Mhm.
Service Canada, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was the same type of almost the same path in a way. Right? Tourism must run much the same as like little economic development.
Absolutely.
I would think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we did in I worked for, it was called Indigenous Tourism British Columbia. And what we did was we assisted Indigenous communities and entrepreneurs who wanted to develop or enhance their tourism business.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So everything from, whale watching tours to bear watching to hotels to vineyards, to jet boats on the Fraser River. So it was really exciting. And I got to see a lot of the province.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was.
I've reached out to Indigenous Tourism BC because there's a couple of people I wanted to talk to there for the podcast and stuff like that. And it honestly is such a cool organization. Like,
yeah, it is. It really is, and it keeps growing.
And and it helps a lot of people, I've heard too, which is amazing. So that's amazing. I didn't know that. That blew my mind right now.
Yeah. So that was a whole lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
It's good to
and
have
I
surprises.
I worked until I was 67 full time. No, is that right? No. When I turned 65, I cut back to 3 days a week. And then I worked another couple of years, and then I did another 2 years of just going out to communities and training.
Wow.
Yes.
What kind of what's like the number one learning outcome that you would train people on? Like, get some free consulting here.
Go off camera.
Most of our Indigenous people are very, they're quite shy. They're not bold. They're not showy. They're
humble people.
Traditionally we are really humble people.
Yeah. And
sometimes it's really difficult to give people the confidence. You can give them the skills, but if you can't help them to bring their confidence level up, to be able to face people and that gives me the greatest sense of accomplishment and satisfaction is when you can see, like, timid, shy individual, and all of a sudden they're just like, ta-da, I'm here.
Shining.
Yeah.
And then it can go too far the other way. You could be too confident and you start a podcast by accident or something.
Oh dear. Yeah.
No, that's amazing.
His grandmother created a monster.
I was like, I want to be on a podcast. Real.
Yeah. Granny was our first podcast guest.
Oh, really? I can see that.
Yeah. You should watch it sometime.
Doing this series is so funny because everybody said that. I had no idea. But anyway, so thank you for sharing about your story. I think that's always valuable to add in. And so you're on your mom's side, you're from your grandfather, you're hearing all these stories about this amalgamation, you're getting back to it. 1923, your grandfather witnessed many of the signatures that were signed on the amalgamation. And it was written as a prayer. And after it was signed, what was the environment like after that? Like, was it effective in helping the?
Well, it must have been okay, because I think it lasted till about, I think there were some changes in the late 60s.
Right.
And then more changes again in 1981. That's when we went from hereditary government to an elected government.
Oh, and why did that happen?
Because a lot of the chiefs were falling asleep. They were done. It was their time to let someone else take over. They had worked so hard, and it was time for them to rest and relax. Yeah. So then
there's somewhat of an attrition from dying off too, and not replacing. Like, sometimes there was a little bit of that, I think.
And there's still a lot. There's still a lot of. I don't know who our 16 hereditary chiefs are.
Yeah, it's kind of, there are some, I think, that that they haven't been passed down. Some of the disconnection has come through with not passing names, or they're waiting. There's some reason why there isn't the position or the role hasn't been taken up in the family, right?
Yeah, and I think it's I understand it's a family issue.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But I also think that it's the responsibility of the family to make sure that the chieftainship is passed off, and passed off in a good way.
Yeah.
And
if
there's
the history's been lost enough, how do you take something there may have been that generation just dropped off and the stories didn't get told, and they got distanced away, and then again it didn't get passed in a good way,
and it's all, intergenerational trauma. It's going to take, I don't know how many more generations it's going to take for residential school and the barbaric treatment of Indigenous people. It's how many generations have we gone through now? It's probably going to take 3 or 4 times as many generations for all of the healing and the memories. I hope that the stories never get lost, because I think the stories are very important. But when you stop and think about colonialism, it's not just Canadian Indigenous people that suffered from colonialism. It's almost all parts of the world, really.
Well, they have different types of colonies.
Yes.
So there are at least 5 different types of colonies that exist. And it's like, when you look at, like, New Zealand was a penal colony. Here was a settler colony. So they had very specific roles in empire overall to where these colonies were fitting. And I mean, resource colony. This was also a resource colony,
Absolutely.
rich colony. So it was about extraction, and it was about manipulation of the power and control of those resources.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the people within it. So, there was, I don't think that overreaching piece, there's that understanding of what it actually is to look at what colonization is, because it wasn't just here.
No, absolutely not.
Several countries impact in many different ways. And their testing grounds were places like Ireland. So they started there, 600 years before over our way. So, it's when you watch where those societies have evolved to, that's a whole other thing too, right? So I think, what you're saying is there is, how many generations will it take for our people to kind of realize what's actually ours as who we were as people, and our, dealing with our hereditary chiefs and remembering those ways of natural law, and, how our people walked on this land, all those pieces, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It takes time to kind of regroup that, especially when illness took like several villages at a time. The impact of that was disease that wiped out entire villages. Catalano talks about, all my siblings are dead, and their children and their grandchildren. So that's like, that reference seems small, but it's talking about disease that wiped out.
Yeah.
All those names, all those, how do we lose a chief? You wipe a whole village out. There's nobody there to tell the story of the chief and the family that they existed, except a small baby.
Yeah.
And when they grow up, they don't have that anyways, right? Who's there to tell them those stories?
Your grandfather must have told you.
Well, my grandfather passed away in 1941.
Oh, okay.
My youngest aunt was only 2 years old. My mother was 12
Okay.
when he passed away. He was a
Wow.
longshoreman. And this is back in the old days before they had a lot of the safety equipment they have now. It was a cold November day, and he slipped off the gangway, and a wave came in, hit the ship, and he was crushed between the ship and the
Oh
dock.
my goodness. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So my
Wow.
grandmother was, she had my mother, as I said, she was 12 and she had a 2-year-old baby, and she was a widow.
Right.
And prior to World War II, 2 of my aunts and one of my uncles moved permanently to Seattle, and they lived and worked in Seattle. My uncle passed away in Seattle. And
Now, is that part of our community that's there, right? When you talk about Seattle, you mean part of our community? Because we have a few hundred people that
Oh,
live
yeah.
there still, right?
oh yeah,
Quite
yeah.
a significant.
Oh yes, there's a
I think they're bigger than Upper Squamish
yes they are.
in numbers, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen any statistics for a while, but yeah, there are quite
They're
a
not
number.
sharing any information.
Well,
We don't even have accurate membership data in terms of addresses and how people are found. I mean, I had this discussion with the Constitution
oh
dinner
my
the other night.
goodness. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting, right? And I mean, it's important to do that. It's important to sit and ask those questions.
Well, it's just this year that they are going to fund or start funding an IT system that is going to be able to connect everything together. They're running everything on separate systems. So what the membership department has got, none of the other departments can access it.
Yes, we know. Because
Yeah, so
try getting your DV check. Okay, like we have like 4,300 people.
Yeah.
There are systems that run billions of checks out
I
of
know.
EI Canada or something. They can't even generate
really.
like checks between departments. They're
And they have over 650 employees.
677 at last count.
And they want to hire 59 more. It's in the budget.
Yes, exactly. That's your extra eight counselors that they're worried about paying 8 more counselors and they're going to hire 59 more staff. Like I'm gobstopped at
It's
where the numbers are coming from
I don't.
and what they're
You
doing.
find me any other community, any other business, any other non-for-profit organization that has 44 however members, and they have almost 700 employees.
That's 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Like you and I and 2 other people should have 1 person that just deals with us.
Exactly. It makes no financial sense whatsoever. It's insane. And
You guys are going now.
and it's
Oops.
like we have people there, doing jobs that they have no qualifications for. They have no experience.
But that's the age-old story of that nation's hiring practices for 100 years now. Like,
So how did it operate back before the voting system came through? It must have operated somewhat similar. Like how would the hereditary chief system operate for everybody?
well,
Do we know even?
I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I think that, or my hope is that one day all of the council meeting minutes, all of the community member meeting minutes, all of those are digitized and available to everyone for as far back as they can go.
yeah.
And I know it's going to be pretty sparse because, you call, I've requested documents from the nation before, and I've been told, well, we can't find them.
Indian Affairs has them. The problem is getting permission
To get them.
to get them. That is the obstacle, the barrier, layer of what is set up by the existing administrations. They
See,
prevent our access.
once again, you know, I have experience with non-for-profit organizations.
Mhm.
And it's just like, you have to be accountable to the government. You know, you have to send them a report. You have to,
Exactly. Because they don't give you money unless you do.
yeah.
So
if you
that's
don't,
why I say
if you,
the records exist.
exactly, they have to be somewhere. They have to be. All they're doing is hiding them.
Hey, my relatives, super quick pause in this episode of Our Storytellers just to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by our partners at the Indigenous Screen Office. The Indigenous Screen Office supports Indigenous narrative sovereignty through storytelling on screen. They provide grants to small podcasts like us to support our growth and to support the guests that we can have come on. Yeah, big thanks to them. Please check them out on Instagram. Please check out their website. You never know, there might be an opportunity for you on there, especially if you're creating content. Get out there and check them out. Thank you so much to our partners at the Indigenous Screen Office. Back to the podcast.
Okay, so in your opinion, Linda, and from your perspective, like, what is one improvement that you think that the community would most benefit from? If you had
To be heard.
to be heard.
To be heard. Especially our elders. Our elders feel very, very,
Shut down.
yeah, a lot of them feel like they have been silenced. And I'm not afraid to speak my mind. You know, I don't care who you are. If you're saying something that I don't agree with, I'm going to tell you that I don't agree with it and why. And I think I feel quite sad for people who don't feel confident enough to speak their mind, because I pretty much attend most of the people's assemblies and the AGMs and a lot of the other community gatherings, and I sit there and I can see people and I can see the strain in their face, and some of them will be wringing their hands or tapping their feet, and I know that I can sense that they have things on their mind. But
Things they want to say,
but they just don't have the confidence to speak.
But I thought that there was a layer process that you have to actually sign and say what you're planning to say before you can be put up on the mic for your 2.5 minutes or 30 seconds or whatever it is before they shut it off on you. So I think there's like so even, I think the stress of saying, I'm only going to have 2 minutes. What am I possibly going to share?
Mm-hmm.
And, and I think that stress is part of what prevents people from standing and speaking and feeling that. So they already have the shyness, but you layer it with that stress is hard.
Well, the old process before the 2018 election law was passed was everything was conducted at the meeting. If you wanted to bring up a resolution, you did it there. It was voted on at the time. Now you have to submit your resolution to a review committee. On the review committee is the chief of staff, the chief operating officer, and one other individual. I'm not sure who it is.
Are any of them band members?
One I know is for sure.
Oh, okay.
Many of our membership do not have the capacity to be able to fill out a resolution.
Right.
They just don't have the capacity. They couldn't do it. You know, it's enough for them to be able to just stand up and speak up, but then you want them to fill out a form?
Traditionally and
Right.
ceremonially, probably how it worked back in the
Well, we
before
didn't-
1923, everybody had a voice.
Exactly. And
And-
we were an oral tradition. We didn't have a written language until, what was it, the 1960s when they started developing our alphabet?
Yeah.
Because the people, that memorization, that oral history, those oral libraries of those folks that would share knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
they remembered. They
Hmm.
remembered in precision. They remembered in, you know, it being concise and articulation.
And
So,
that's because of the fact of how we were raised back in the day. You
yes.
know, children attended everything,
Yep.
but they weren't running around, they weren't screaming, they weren't, you know, making noise, they weren't being disruptive. They sat quietly and you know, they were taken care of. But it's just, there's no, our community has lost its self-respect in a lot of ways. You know, there's so much that we could be honoring in our history. And
Tons.
Like what?
some of it has so been so terribly forgotten. I don't know. I
What stands out to you? What makes you proud to be a Squamish Nation matriarch?
my ancestry, you know. I know that I know where my family came from. You know, I have stories, I have pictures. You know, I can remember as a kid, you know, there's 3 generations of my family that have been on council. My grandfather was on council. At the time he was on council after the 1923 amalgamation, one of the hereditary chiefs, his name was Chief Tom, he and his wife had no family. They had no children. So Chief Tom passed his chieftainship on to my grandfather so he could be a representative on council.
Mm.
So that's how my grandfather got on council. And then my uncle, we called him Teddy, but his real name was Gordon, my Uncle Teddy Band. He was on council also for many, many years. And I can remember as a child, you know, after a council meetings used to be on Sundays, I think. And he would always come over because it was literally across the street from our home. And he would come
Yeah.
over and, you know, he would talk to my mom. And, you know, I can remember sitting, you know, just at the table. I'd be 12, 13, you know, just trying to find out who I am and where I'm from. And I would listen to him quite often and, you know, just hear some of the stories and, you know, what was going on in the community and how they were trying to, you know, develop better businesses. And, you know, my uncle was a longshoreman. When he retired from longshoring, he managed the marina. Our
'Cause they
first,
yeah, that marina was built in
I think, the 60s.
60s.
Yeah.
60s. Yeah, I was thinking it was around the 60s.
Yeah. So he managed the marina for quite a number of years as well. So yeah, he had and then my brother. So my brother is very proud of my brother. He's really smart. My brother's name is Harold Calla. He was on council, I believe, for 2 terms. He was also an employee of the nation. Gosh, maybe I don't know if it was the 80s or 90s.
I think it was the 80s and
The late 80s.
the
it would have
late
been.
80s. Yeah.
Because-
because he was already gone. Like I came in to the child welfare because I worked there when he was in. That was one of the short periods of time I worked
Mhm.
within the nation.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, he has he's an accountant. He has been an accountant for a gazillion years. I'm 70. I'm almost 73, and he's 4 years older than me, so he's 77.
Yeah.
Still works. He's the chair of the First Nations Financial Management Board.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a very intelligent man. He was the one who investigated the Indian Act and the Taxation Code, and he was instrumental in getting the legislation so First Nations could collect their own property tax. So that's something that he worked on for many, many years. And I'm very proud of him. He's a really smart guy.
You think we
should
should
come
be
for a
collecting
visit.
tax?
I'm sure if you called him, he'd be happy to come. He's very, very deep
I like that.
and very clinical. He's not, well, he can be fun, but yeah.
Can
would.
he? Just kidding. No.
You do know him.
Well, yeah, like I said, I worked.
Yeah.
I worked back when he was, because I was the first administrator of IS Munmun.
Okay.
When they began the offices, and
Yeah.
when they hired me, I was the one that actually oversaw the actual building of an office. Because when I showed up, it was Linda and Gloria and a desk
Oh.
in Ashlahan.
Oh. Yeah.
Because it was brand new, right?
Yeah, of course.
They'd only signed their provincial and federal agreements, the tripartite agreements,
Mhm.
and so when I came on board, I was part of that team that became what built the actual offices initially, and it was down on in Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the building beside the driving range.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's where they put social development. They gave them a
Yes.
building. So we
Yeah, yeah.
renovated the building up, and my Uncle Jason, we had him do all the landscaping. And that, I don't know, that ran for quite a while there too before they moved. Because they moved down to the trailers here,
Mm-hmm.
and they relocated healthcare and everything down here, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and closed the Seymour offices there. So
Mm.
I was already working. I had already gone on to do Hawkmeath by then. So I started their office up, and then I left altogether and had kids. Like you said, your skill sets run out of different things. So for me, it was always administration, right? So I did file clerking for the federal government for like too many decades, repeat performances. So
Yeah.
used to the filing.
Mm-hmm.
What's a family story that stands out to you?
I can remember my grandmother telling this story. My mom was quite small, and I don't think my Aunt Lonnie was born yet. So it was probably mid-30s, maybe. And I guess my grandparents were in Squamish. And for some reason or other, they either didn't have a ride or their ride back fell through because they didn't have a car. So my grandfather packed everything up, put them in a canoe, brought them down to North Van from Squamish in a canoe.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah. And my grandmother, she was telling me, she goes, I kept yelling at him, Gus, you're going to kill us. You're going to kill us.
That's how we always travel.
that was kind of a fun little story.
That's wild.
Funny.
Yeah. My grandparents had a pretty, tough life, because they were. I think my grandmother was born in 1900, and her family here. She wasn't Indigenous. Her family heritage was English and Scottish and Hawaiian.
Really?
Mm-hmm. We do have Hawaiian ancestry, and as a matter of fact, quite a few years, it got to be 10 or 15 years ago. Do you recall they had this big Hawaiian gathering down at Chief Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all the Nahannis.
Yeah.
We were all there.
Yeah. So it was really awesome.
All 500 of us.
Yeah. and I found out, what was the name of that lady? Rory. Remember Rory? She was from Hawaii.
Oh, the one that, yeah, I kind of vaguely remember.
Anyway, she has all of this history and stuff like that. And she is part Squamish, supposedly. But nevertheless, we found out that our Hawaiian ancestry is linked to Dr. Evan Adams.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the Hawaiians just went right up the coast and all came back down.
Yeah, well,
Who's
they were
Dr. Evan?
navigators, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They brought them because they were navigators,
Yeah.
ocean navigators,
Yeah.
and that's how they actually came here in the first place. So.
Dr. Evan Adams, you must
know
have seen the
him.
movie
FNHA.
Smoke Signals.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I know. Okay, I know Dr. Evan Adams.
FNHA.
Okay, yeah.
You'll
He was-
know him as FNHA,
Yeah.
not smoke signals. That's
Yeah.
way too
I've seen the smoke signals.
Anyway.
I've seen smoke signals.
hard to get.
But okay, I always
Yeah.
forget that. I always forget that name.
Anyway, and he's the nicest guy. I really, he's just so down to earth. But anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting little anecdote that, we've got a little bit of Hawaiian ancestry as well. And supposedly, hang on, I have to count back. Grandma, Uncle John. My 2 times great-grandmother was supposedly half Indigenous and half Hawaiian.
Say that one more time for me, please.
Half Indigenous.
Your 2 times great grandma?
2 times great-grandmother.
2 times great grandma was half Indigenous and half Hawaiian.
Yes.
Okay.
But I could never find, and I've never been able to find any records that shows that she was half Hawaiian. It's actually, it's even in Squamish records, I believe.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, as you probably know, the Hawaiians lived on the reservations with First Nations people.
Yeah, well, that's how Kanaka Ranch was formed,
Mhm.
because Mary Siamia was married to Hawaiian men
Mm-hmm.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Started both of the lines of coming down from there, right? So,
Mhm.
Both
And-
the Haney lines?
yeah, I believe so. Well, Ihu was her other husband, and Ihu was Ihu Nahu,
That's right, the Nahus.
the Nahus.
Yeah.
And
Supposedly-
Nahine and Nahu. So they
My-
each had one child.
We need
Yeah,
some
with her.
context here for the listeners. So we need
Yeah.
some context here for
So
the
Mary
listeners.
Siamia was the
Yeah, go for it. sorry.
she was the daughter of, I believe it's Laximian Laxitan, and I'm not absolutely sure, but one of them was from Catesy, which ties the Stalo
Mhm.
in to our people,
Mhm.
and the other one was the father. I think he was from up the valley. Okay, so I don't, without looking
Yeah, I'd
at the
have to look at it
genealogy,
again.
I have to look at it. I mapped it all out, but so one was Squamish and one was Stalo.
Yes.
And then she was, because she's a chief's daughter, she was also a winter dancer as well. But she met Ihu first,
Mm-hmm.
and then she met Jonah Haney. So she married both of them.
We'll double check all this before.
And then she had William,
Yep.
right, with Joe, and she had another child with Ihu. And I'm not as, like, I know the name, but it's not coming to me. And that, William married Cecilia Johnny, who
Mhm.
was, so you tie all of those families, they are so interrelated that it was impossible to separate all
Yeah.
our families.
Yeah.
Just the lines are all just woven together.
And because a lot of the men died so young, most of the women were married, sometimes
More than
two,
once. Yeah.
sometimes 3 times. And they would have children with each husband.
Yeah. Yes. And if you look at the genealogy, you'll see in there all the marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's multiple ones
Yeah.
at all generations, all
Yeah.
the way through.
Why were the men not living long?
Well, men and women too, because women died too.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the men would take on different wives, but they were always other community, which again made it that's how they were all mixed, right? So,
Because I know
and they could have died young for a number of reasons, because the type of work that was going on, working on the shipyards, working in, fishing and hunting and forestry that was going on, because they were starting to clear the land quite heavily at the turn of the century, of course, and coming. So
safety precautions back then were
didn't exist.
next to nil.
Right.
Well,
Okay,
they talk a lot
gotcha.
about that with the Chinese people that came over, because there was a huge Asian population of mostly men, and they blended with the families here as well. So they took families here because they weren't ever going to go home. So they took families here, and they were always Indigenous.
Like the Grants from Musqueam, they're part Chinese.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, in our community, we have Chileans, Mexicans. Yeah, there's quite
Portuguese.
And because I know that our family is kind of interwoven in my grandmother's side of the family. My grandmother, of course, married an Indigenous man. One of her sisters married a gentleman who was part Squamish and part Chilean from the Cortocito family.
Yeah.
And the other one married a individual. He was Caucasian, but from a very, very old, well-known family from the area. So it was lots of old history. My grandmother, who was non-Indigenous, learned to speak Squamish. She could speak Squamish fluently. Actually, when my grandfather and my grandmother got married, she had to teach her sisters-in-law English. And my grandfather's sister, full-blooded sister, because his mother was married twice, was Lena Jacobs, who was the matriarch of the Jacobs family, who was Chief Gibby's mother.
Really?
Yeah, she just passed recently, not that long ago.
Probably been more than 10 years.
Is it more than 10 years?
I think so. It's been quite a while.
I thought it wasn't
My
that
mind
long
is
ago.
blown right now. That's crazy.
Yeah. So
It's
like
amazing.
it's like I said, all those families are much more intertwined than they really truly understand.
So every time there's ever a conflict between families, really the same family.
It's the same. Well, they're like one huge family that's all together. And the best solution to all of that is give everybody their genealogy and start working on really filling that in properly and connected. One, it's an exercise that would help people to feel less maybe angry or less alienated from each other, because then they start to look at each other. Oh, really? Wow, I didn't know. So because they have connection then.
There's still a lot of reverse prejudice on the res.
Well, Bill C-31 is a huge one. Let's look at it. I was 19 before I was allowed to be called not only Squamish, but an Indian.
Yeah, exactly.
You know this. I mean, for me, it was 19. 1985 rolls around. 1981, Indian Affairs goes to every single nation in the country and creates a ridiculous membership code. So before, the women are returning with their children and grandchildren.
Okay, wait. Okay, hold on. Okay.
And I got more for you too.
Okay. Let's go back here for 1 second for the listener at home. So, what is Bill C-31? For the listener at home, let's start there.
So if you look at the Indian Act,
around
1981, Indian Act, they created the Constitution, but from that they created something called Section 35 that they added and addended changed in the Indian Act to include Bill C-31, which was a bill to create equalization to deal with the prejudice of women being enfranchised. Because Indigenous women were being enfranchised, they would lose everything: family, identity, status, land, everything, just by marrying outside of,
Right. Okay.
So basically, you weren't an Indian
You were
anymore.
an Indian
You were
by
no
marrying
longer.
outside. You lose your status. Bada bing, bada boom.
You
That
lose your
gets
rights.
your rights. That gets
Changed
Changed
in 1981,
because Section 35,
and Bill C-31.
which is included in Section 35. How does that work? I don't know how that works.
It's a bill that's added to the Indian Act legislation.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Okay.
Because it's actually a bill that has its own.
And that's what
set
allows
of-
the women to come home.
That's what
Yes.
allows the women to come
Granny
home
taught me about this.
under specific circumstances.
Right.
Because they could gain their status back in general as a Native woman and say, yes, you can be called a Native woman, you're registered status Indian. So now you have to go and talk to your band and see if the band will accept you back.
Right. What was your experience with that?
Did that help to
Yeah.
give a little more
So-
perspective to it?
By the time I filled out my mother got her status back.
Yeah.
I explained that my parents got married in 1951. They got married on June 30th, 1951, because I found a copy of their wedding invitation. But anyway, nevertheless, so my mother got her, when she enfranchised in 51, the government paid her a few $100s.
Yes, check for $300 and get
Yeah,
lost.
yeah, really. So my mother and grandmother were encouraged by the parish, St. Paul's parish priest, that she should sign her enfranchised documents before she got married.
Okay.
So that's what she did. So she got her few $100 or whatever it was. They got married and life went on, right? 1987 comes around and, we are all magically filling out our applications for status. And we got our status right away. Then we applied for membership and we got our membership, which was very, very nice. So everything's going on, tickety-boo, like, we all get older, we start having, we have our own children, and we decide, well, we better start filing for status for our kids. Filled out all the forms, sent them in, rejected. Like, why? Everyone, my mother's cousins who were in the same predicament,
Kids are registered.
the kids are registered, but her grandchildren are not. With two exceptions, and I'll explain that later. So back and forth, I don't know how many different applications we sent in, and started talking to lawyers and things like that. The reason the government said that their grandchildren's applications were denied was there was some sort of cutoff date that if you married before 1957, your grandchildren, it didn't apply to them.
Really?
Yeah, it was the double mother clause.
Yes,
Correct?
I believe so.
Yes, and then Sharon MacGyver changed that.
Supposedly. But my mother's grandchildren, some of them still don't have status.
There are many that don't.
Yeah.
I have a daughter that was never accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I have a niece that was also never accepted. A son of my brother's we cannot find. That's one family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, every one of our families has at least one or two of these children.
Mm-hmm.
So it begs the question as to how many are really missing and not
Exactly.
found. begs the question of having a membership department whose job should be to like wholeheartedly look for these children, and who should be telling every member who comes here, here's your genealogy, please look at this, please do this, and please make an effort to ask questions, and let's help you fill this out in earnest, right? So, I think that solutions to things are part of that, because people don't know who they are. They don't know who their family is. Not enough to walk down the street and look at them and say who they are.
Yeah.
Right? You can hear a name, but you don't really know until you start asking, who's your mom, who's your dad, who's your grandparents, who's your aunties and uncles.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
exactly.
and it's why we have that old tradition of standing up and introducing yourself by your name, by your grandparents' names. My grandparents are my great grandparents, my parents.
Yeah, exactly.
And then people, I know who you are now.
Exactly.
And it was a way of putting that there so that everybody knew who you were talking to.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
And
I'm the same way now.
That's been away now, right? It's every paper I write who that's how I introduce. That's my basic introduction in the paper. Who I am, where I come from, who my people are. Like, who claims you? So, I think it's a key to starting with having everybody understand who they are.
Yeah, it's very
it
true.
makes it better for them to tie to how they make decisions, because then they have relevance to where they are too. They become vested in our
absolutely
vested in their community, because I belong here. I not only belong here, but I have aunties, cousins, brothers,
very true,
grandmothers, grandfathers.
It really doesn't matter where I traveled, anywhere in the province of British Columbia and visited Indigenous communities. I always found somebody that was related to one of my relatives. Always. Like, first, like you said, the first thing you do, you introduce yourself, you say this, you say where you're from, and they're like, oh, I've got family in Squamish.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and it's just like, sometimes it's cousins on the flip side.
Yeah. Well, exactly, but it's you
exactly.
The connection's there.
Yeah, and I can honestly say, of all, I probably traveled to 30 different communities over the years, and I would bet you more than half of them I would have a relative, experience.
So you see those tradition powwow trails, they're doing their job still. Teepee creeping is going on.
Alive and well.
It's alive and well.
You two are freaking hilarious.
Right? I mean, it's how it's done.
Yeah. And I think, to me, I don't know a lot of Squamish history. I don't know a lot of Squamish stories because I didn't grow up encapsulated in it, right? I was close, but I didn't grow up encapsulated.
You're still looking out from the like you're looking at the inside, right?
Yeah. I used to be outside of the circle looking in, but now I'm inside of the circle, but I'm still, my head's still on a swivel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's true though. It's really true.
In the circle, dizzy.
But it is very true, right? So it's, and I think that, we talk about things like, because Bill C-31's a label.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like many of the labels that have been given over decades for some of us, that kind of exists that way in but even when you think about those labels, they're not always understood by the kind of collective community. So they bring fear, they bring misunderstanding.
Yeah.
They bring, I ran into my cousin, this is a great example of how that kind of comes along. And, you know, him and his sister and his brother, they're Bill C-31, so they're registered. She has children. The one brother has no children. And the brother that I had a conversation with when I got here about a week ago again, we're talking, and he says to me, he says, yeah, I said, I'm really mad at my sister. I said, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, I took my house, took everything, and all this other stuff. I said, I'm going to get her. I said, oh, yeah, what are you going to do? He says, well, I'm going to make sure that her kid's status is taken away. I said, excuse me? I said, I'm going to stop you right there. He goes, and I said, why would you do that? And he goes, well, they're not Indians.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like,
I hear that all the
"Excuse me?"
time.
I says, what do you mean they're not Indians? And he goes, well, both of them have white dads. He says, I had a Native woman for my child. I said, good for you. And I said, so you think that it's okay to be racist and prejudiced against your own niece and nephew in flesh and blood by telling them they're not Indian enough? I said, wow. I said, you might want to rethink your position. Because I'm the last person in the world, Cuzzy, that you want to be having this discussion with right now. I says, you are not going to win this. I says, do you not remember who our auntie is? Teresa and Barbara. How about Sharon MacGyver? I said, think about these women who are your immediate family. I said, you're like so off base. We're done. I can't talk to you anymore.
I was having a conversation with some of the elders one day. We were talking about, of course, membership, and that's on the back burner right now, I think.
Hi, my relatives. If you're enjoying this podcast, or if you have any feedback on this podcast, please let us know, because we're always trying to get better at the same time. But especially if you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I think we have some really cool projects coming out that you might want to check out. Please follow us on Spotify. Share our reels as well too. That helps us out so much. And yeah, just check us out. Share the word. We're working really hard to keep this content coming for you. And the support helps us out so much. And we're so grateful. Thank you so much for listening. Back to the podcast.
Nevertheless, I was having a conversation with some of the elders, and I was saying, like, I said, I don't understand the prejudice. I would be very surprised if there are any 100% Squamish people left.
There aren't any.
And this particular individual said to me, I think there are. And I went, show me. Show me one person in this community who is,
look back in their genealogy.
They're delirious. That's all I can say.
It's delirious, yeah.
There aren't. There just aren't. And I, unless you
That's
live,
a good way to put it.
Unless you live in a remote community, and I don't know where, there just aren't any 100% of anything anymore. We're all so mixed, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but it's also not an excuse for them to put out letters of blood quantum when they don't take a drop of blood.
Yeah.
It's ethically wrong.
People ask me all the time, how much Squamish are you? I said, I'm not going to tell you. None of your business. I live in my community. I've worked in my community. I've served in my community. I attend, most of the community events, as many as I can attend. And you're going to tell me if I don't have X percentage of Squamish blood that I'm not Squamish? I got words for you, buddy.
Yeah.
And they ain't going to be pretty ones.
Somebody going to get a hurt today.
Yep. Be Bannock slapping you across the street.
Okay.
Oh, one thing I've learned about Squamish matriarchs is that they're all funny. They're all hilarious. That's one thing I've learned so far through our series so far.
I think it's a safeguard.
The sense of humor is a safeguard.
And absolutely, it's a safeguard because
Either
we
that or
can't.
you're
If we
crying.
can't, exactly. Either that, or we're going to have a friggin' nervous breakdown and be in a loony bin.
Yeah. And who wants that? Laughing is so much better.
It's way more fun.
Oh, it's way more fun to take the pinch out of people for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
make them
definitely.
feel it.
Linda,
Definitely.
what do you want my generation and the future generations to start actioning today?
Get involved. You go to all of these meetings, and who's there? A bunch of friggin' old people like me.
Yep.
The young people are not. Young people today, they're starting to find themselves. They're starting to find their cultural pride, but they're not getting involved. They're not getting involved in the community. I've got my two grandsons, a Walton and a Helton. They're 22 and almost 21. And I try and, I talk to them and I try and keep them informed in, the things that I've been working on, and, give them information so they can hopefully make an educated decision when they have to vote. But they're not interested.
They don't want to vote, right?
They don't want to vote. They don't want to attend the meetings.
Why should I? I hear this too, and I'm like, it's changing. How do you get that narrative change, right? Like, I know it was a challenge with me with my kids to make that argument for why it's important. So I said to them, think about this. We've just gone through federal elections. We have 38 million people in this country. Your decision, even though it's important to go out and vote,
Absolutely,
will be 1 in 38 million. Okay. So here's an opportunity when you have any election within our nation to be like one of a potentially important deciding factor, because there's only 1 in 4,300. And actually voting age is less than that. It's like probably 33,000 maybe?
I'm not sure.
2,500. It's not a big number.
It's not a big number, no.
It's a very small number. But that number make the determining factor for land, history, future, business, money. You have a chance at 1 in 2,500 to make a difference. So I said, even if it's just a statistical thing and you're going to say, well, I'll do that because my mom's harassed the crap out of me to go and vote at some point, then please make it a choice where you at least hedge your bets. You have the best opportunity statistically to make a difference with your voice.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree.
Because how else can you buy or sell something like that to them in a way that is, what's it worth to you?
Yeah. I post a lot on Facebook. I read, Facebook is the native smoke signals as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
And, I read a lot of comments, and a lot of them are from, I believe they're from younger individuals.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, you go to all these people's assemblies and AGMs and consultation engagement sessions. It's always the same people that are there. And we're all getting old. And there's really no one that I can see coming up behind us to take on the things that the people need.
Some of it's apathy, some of it's just the fact that there's been a disconnect with
Exactly.
having access
Yeah.
to our actual running of things. There's
Yeah.
been a huge severance of the people from the decision-making process and the things that are going on. And I think it's been quite harmful to pulling that next generation in, because I remember growing up, my parents dragged me to everything. I mean, back when I was a little kid, it was, all the protests and all the things that were going on with the Native Brotherhood and the Moccasins for Miles or whatever movement, the things that were going on, they were in all these things. We went to all these things. We were like, running around and doing crazy things. And, our parents were working, they're protesting, they're politically involved and they're engaged. And we were there by osmosis, pulling up all the environment of being in there. And, growing up, even so at every interval, they made us attend these things and come to these things.
Yeah.
It was part of that. And it wasn't because they didn't have a babysitter or whatever. It was the way they were raised. They were dragged to everything too.
Well,
and
the entire
the
community.
community always was together. It was
Yeah.
the rhythm of it. It was part of it. So it's like at some point that shifted, and that disconnect became a wider gap. And they stopped having things and stopped allowing people, or stopped inviting, or they'd say, you can't bring your children because they're not registered. You can't bring your spouse because you're not registered.
Yeah.
And it, again, it's this segregation of things that create barriers, create reasons why they don't participate. So it becomes the perfect storm eventually to where we sit today.
Yeah, there seems to be a gap between the elders that we have that are very passionate about their communities. But I'm hoping that with the election code referendum tomorrow, that I've been working on this for just over a year.
Yeah.
On trying to get this election referendum. And something happened to me at one of the meetings. It was supposed to be a People's Assembly meeting, and then we didn't have quorum. So they turned it into an information session.
Oh.
And people were asking questions, and we had to register with one of the staff to be on the speaking list.
Right.
So there were a number of different topics that were being discussed, and I had my name on the speakers list for 2 or 3 of the topics.
Yeah.
And after lunch, council just decided we're shutting it down.
Oh.
And I went ballistic. I lost it.
You had a moment, did you?
Fuck.
Good for you. Sometimes you just gotta.
I totally lost it. I started, I was saying things like, there's people that have been waiting here, you're silencing us once again. We have no voice.
Straw that broke a camel's back.
And I was standing there and I was saying all these things, and I said, the elders feel neglected, they feel overlooked. You have not ever once in this particular law has no reference to our hereditary system. It has no acknowledgement of our hereditary system. You people didn't even acknowledge our hereditary chiefs, our 100-year anniversary of amalgamation.
I know. It was terrible.
Oh, and I maybe saw 3 of the 8 counselors at various events. So they're just not participating.
They were all there at the announcement when they signed the agreement with North Van last year.
Of course, yeah.
Because you know what? I was there because I made a talk about Catsalano. I was invited by the North Van shipyards.
Yoo-hoo!
And down there, those guys were all in there making a side deal announcement that was going to be publicized somewhere down the road.
Mm.
But they had all the everything, and I walked in. I'm like, what is going on? And they're all like, they were all of a sudden nervous. So security was moving around and
Yeah.
milling.
Yeah. And on that particular day,
So
again,
I just left, and I thought, I can't, because I'm getting up to talk,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be like, you know,
Well, I was.
losing my
I did.
losing my stuff. Because I would have done that with
I
them.
did. I said to them, you went ahead and made a financial arrangement with CMHC for $1.4 billion.
Thank you.
And you didn't even, we heard about it on the news. I heard
Like
about
everything.
I heard about it. I was in my car and I was at the corner of Capilano and Marine Drive and I was going to turn into the res. I heard that on the news. I almost crashed my car. $1.4 billion.
I need some context here, please.
I nearly threw up.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, the Sḳwx project was one of these shortened referendums that got pushed through to give up the property of Sḳwx to Indian Affairs so they could give it for $1 to West Bank so they could build 3,000 units, okay?
Okay.
Then they decided to show it.
For context, everybody, the Sḳwx project is a building project.
It was supposed to be 3,000 housing units, towers, series of towers built in Kitsilano, because
Right.
Sḳwx is in Kitsilano. And Sćwx was land that was given back to us in 1996, but only a portion of it was given back to the Squamish Nation with a significant trust of $94 million, roughly. Okay.
Boom.
It was 92.5 million because I was on the first. I was on the first group of trustees.
There you go. We got expert knowledge here to tell us exactly the dollars. So that trust, along with the land, was returned to Squamish people for future whatever we wish to do with it. So about 2018, they had a short referendum that was about 6 weeks. They introduced the project. They pushed it through, and then they took whoever voted, and 50% of that pushed it through as a successful vote. So they gave the land to West Bank Development, Ian Gillespie, for $1. And then they told us they were going to build 3,000 units. So a bunch of time passes, a bunch of secret in-camera meetings with council, and then there's a public announcement on the groundbreaking of the project that it's now going to be 6,000 units. And Trudeau standing there saying, we're happy to say that we're introducing a guarantee loan for the Squamish people for $1.4 billion.
So they took out $1.4 billion
For the project.
for the project.
For the infrastructure
They borrowed
project.
$1.4 billion against what? What's a guarantee
Our
loan?
future
Against the land.
against
Against
the
the
land.
land. So if they can't pay that back, the land is seized.
I don't know what would happen because it
It's
has
Indian
been.
land.
It has been. Has it been redesignated as reserve? I believe it has.
I believe it has.
Yeah.
been.
So I'm not sure how that would
Okay.
work.
So probably not.
I
That's okay.
the government
We
would have
can-
a really hard time
Getting it.
appropriating that
Yeah.
from the nation, but I don't know.
But the government's the one that gave the loan.
Yeah.
So again,
The government essentially gave $1.4 billion to.
Loaned $1.4 billion to
Loaned.
Squamish. I'm sure the $1.4 billion will come out of the Sćwx project and be whatever the repayment arrangements are. God only knows
Yeah.
because
we don't
but-
have any of the information
so,
to
you know,
speak.
those are
further.
the types of things that this council has done. I think,
You know-
I don't know for sure. I would like to find out how many council meetings have in-camera sections.
You can find that out because almost all the agendas are posted,
but
and
the
almost
majority-
all of them are in camera.
Most of them will have at least one in-camera session.
Yes, every
If
one
not-
of them does.
if not-
Is the in-camera session a Zoom call? What is this?
No, in-camera
No,
means
it means
it's not recorded.
and it's not open to the public.
It's private. It's only that the counselor.
only
it's,
the councils.
That term makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
to
I
me.
have no idea what that
Because
meant.
most of them
But
show up by
It's
Zoom
private.
anyways.
It's all private.
But they mostly show up by Zoom.
Let me.
Somebody was
I know
telling me
that too.
somebody was telling me that Sempulin sits there and then everybody else has got cameras in Zoom sitting in the council meeting.
And there's only 8 of them. Like, how hard is it to gather 8 people up?
I know. I don't know.
Most of them live on the
gonna-
North Shore, except for one, I believe.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's crazy. The whole law is, and I've read this.
You brought it.
I brought it,
Yeah.
and I
I made them send me
Wait,
a
you gotta
copy
lick your
so I
finger
could
first
read it.
before you
It was
it's 100 and hang on, is it
62 pages.
167 pages or some
Yeah.
ridiculous thing
Can I
like
see it?
that.
When you're done.
Sure. And I've got lots of highlighting in here.
What is this? What is this?
This is the election and referendum law that was passed by referendum on December 2018.
Okay, so this is the
This is the
Most
existing
recent.
law.
yeah.
There have been 2 slight amendments in it since 2018. They're totally irrelevant to
Okay,
what
gotcha.
I'm
Okay.
unhappy about.
Okay.
But they're trying to pass this.
So
as
what we
a
want
final.
to do is that
They're
Okay.
trying to pass this. It's passed. This is passed.
that's what's in place now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we went from 16 counselors to 8, but we probably have at least 1/3 more employees. Since then, we have employees that are
Upper management.
upper management. We've got managers for managers for managers.
And you've got directors that
Yeah.
manage the managers
There's
now.
there's four main departments and there are 4 directors. Most of the senior and management staff are non-Indigenous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, it's very problematic.
Yeah.
There's so
For me
much
as well.
in that law that there is nothing in this law that reflects anything to do with our community.
It's bureaucratic legalese that runs through
Absolutely.
the structure.
To me, this
of-
law is simply been put in place to silence community.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I
Oh,
agree with that.
so
Because everything I read from it was much of what I was reading out of that was all about keeping us out of engagement
Mhm.
and opinion and voice and everything.
would you like to be a guest on Our Storytellers? Because all you have to do to connect with us is just email info@ourstorytellers.ca and we will get back to you as soon as possible. That sounds like a voicemail, which I think is hilarious. But if you email us, we'll give you a call and we'll listen to your story and we'll probably film it. So please reach out to us if you're interested in being a guest, because we love to share stories from all walks of life, from all different experiences. We think that everybody's story is valuable and that you can learn from anybody's story. So please email us and we'll schedule a call with you as soon as we can. That also sounds like a voicemail, but back to the podcast. Returning back to the OG question, which was if you're a youth listening to this in any community that you're in or a part of or anything, get involved because it's important for us. Like Mom said, your vote counts more in your own community and it matters. And the next generation, you're going to be the one to make a change. So get out there and get action. Action is important, right? Agree?
Educate yourself. Find
Educate
out
yourself.
what's going on in your own communities. Educate
Yes.
yourself and get out and vote.
Yep.
And, we will have another election coming up. Hopefully,
September, they say.
yeah, end of September is election again. we're hoping that we can get back to 16 counselors. We're hoping that we can, there'll be no
Immediate family members of the same family.
yeah. We want to have a
Those are
general.
questions on the electoral reform.
We want to have a
referendum.
general election. We don't want to have people running in ridings, which
Yeah.
we have now.
There's
Yeah.
writings?
No,
have-
yeah,
yeah, we
ridings.
have ridings.
Capilano.
Capilano, there's a North Shore riding, a Squamish riding.
And
There's another
Capilano. And an
representative.
off-reserve riding.
For 4,500 people. that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And then there
So you can
are,
imagine how
That's
confusing
crazy.
it is.
and then there are a number of general counselors as well. We have a band manager that has no office,
Yeah, and no, like
no
real-
authority, no job
authority,
description.
no job
Oh, and
description.
the counselors want a raise.
They do.
They want a raise.
Well, in here, their salaries, their salary,
Has to be approved
yeah.
by,
Them
by us.
by us.
It's supposed to be in the budget.
Supposed to be, but we don't really see them.
No, we don't.
We see generalized line items
Yes.
that cover
We see-
a specific, area,
Yeah.
but nothing drilled down.
It's
There's no
broken
doubt.
down by department now because there are, excuse me, not by department, by the 4 pillars. We have 4
Yes.
pillars. What is it? People services, lands and titles. I don't think of the other 2 off the top of my head.
Yeah,
But
culture and language.
culture and language, yeah, and there's one more.
It has to do with child welfare, I think,
Yeah.
and social
You know,
healthcare and all that.
I had a girl on the podcast, and her dad was a very influential lawyer. They're from the prairies. They're from Saskatchewan, and he passed on to the other side now. But one of the things that he wrote a book and he left it, and the book is called The Power of Story. I read it before this podcast. It was a book that changed my life. I love that book to death. I will reread it for the rest of my life. One of the things that he left a lesson in there that had a really lasting impact on me. And there's 2 lessons that kind of build off of each other, but it's about the
Mhm.
power of visiting, like we're doing right now,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
and the power of what traditional governance was. We're from a matriarch society based anyway. Matriarchs visited, talked, made decisions. But I think that when I'm hearing both of you speak and explain your views of what's going on in the community, I'm hearing that people want to be heard, want to be listened to, and I think that the leadership lesson for everybody at the end of this is that if you sit with people and listen to them, it's not a necessary reflection on how you're governing it is a reflection on how you're governing, but you should listen because you should want to help. That is the lesson in all of this. That's the leader that you should become, to be helping your people. If you are in a position of leadership, that's what you need to become. You need to become the best helper for everybody. And I think that what is happening here, and the whole theme of this podcast so far that's been going on, is that both of you are asking for the people to be helped at the end of the day. True?
Of course. Bring
True.
no more children.
Mhm.
Help the people. They're
People, and the people do need help here. If you walk around, you can see that people need help.
Absolutely.
And,
I mean,
yeah.
and food and self-sustaining, and there's enough resources to go around for everybody here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can see that. We know that. If you can get billions of dollars to build something, you can probably get a couple million to feed some people,
Yeah.
and enough to feed everybody. So the balance is there. People are seeing it. I think that women like you are the people that are raising the next level of leaders. And to defend your grandsons that are 21, trust me, we are completely useless until our 25-year-old brains grow in. So they got
some
lots.
of it takes longer. My son was 35.
See?
before he-
It takes some time. I
You
remember
gotta chip away at it.
I remember
One
turning
piece at a
25
time.
and I remember turning 25 and waking up and being like, I'm going to make a good financial decision today. And be like,
What happened?
and you're like, where has this power been my whole life, right? But for real, and also from the youth's perspective growing up, is that I also kind of feel like
some of the things that have happened, like some of the stories that we tell ourselves that are not true is that, you know, I don't have this skill set to lead a change. I don't have, if I vote, you know, I've seen my parents vote, I've seen other people vote, and change has not really occurred.
Right.
So how is that? Why is my vote going to count? That's any different, no matter what, even if it's a large influence.
What difference would it make?
What difference will it make?
Yeah.
That's why I kind of encourage people in my generation to, like, if you want to capture the stories, go buy a camera and then do it. You know, if you want to feed the people, go buy a fishing rod and then do it. Like, and that's how your leadership will develop over time and your influence will develop over time. And now I know, by the way, you're over 70. For over 70, you look amazing for being over 70. 100%.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But now, through projects like this, I know great matriarchs, and like Auntie Iris, Linda, you're always more than welcome to come and sit down, and I'll just listen, because I always learn something from that. Be able to take a little piece of something. And you know what? I kind of feel bad for the counselors and for the leaders that aren't in leadership positions, because they don't know the value of sitting with an elder, or they don't get the privilege of sitting with somebody and just listening to and learning from them, because their perspective is something, and there's never one right answer for anything, right?
Well, everyone has the right to their own opinion.
Exactly.
And I have differences with people all the time, but I respect them. You know, there are certain people that I have a lot of respect for. But the fact that at this point in time, our government is just not been listening to us.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite ironic, after all of the work that our little group of marauders, or whatever you want to call us.
Yeah. I was talking to Faye Halls yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to be on this week.
There's a group of us.
Oh, yes.
There's a group of us that have really been working on this election code referendum. It's Chief Gibby Jacob, Chief Bill Williams, Faye Halls,
Yeah,
Bertha Joseph,
Yep.
myself.
Yeah, Bertha's supposed to be here too.
Good.
She's supposed to be coming too.
Bertha's amazing.
Well, she keeps evading me.
Yeah, she's good at that.
She's very well.
She's busy.
She's a busy lady. And I get it, right?
Oh, my cousin Leilani.
Yeah.
I know.
And you know Leilani?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
she
reached out
has,
to her a few times.
She has her own YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and
That's why I
she
know.
also put together our Squamish Nation Voices YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Totally.
And she's I'm very proud of her. She's a very smart woman, and she's learned all of this. So that's the little group that, you know, we all started this. We just said, you know, enough is enough. This group of individuals are not listening anymore. Excuse me. And I wanted to mention a little interaction that we had on Facebook a few weeks ago. Well, maybe even 2 months ago. We were talking about elders' home care and how limited the services are that is available for elders that are getting home care.
It's gotten much more restrictive.
Very restricted.
Especially in the last 5 years.
Extremely restrictive. One of the individuals on Facebook made the comment that his, 83 and 87-year-old grandparents, they asked the home care worker if they would clean the stairs for them, the inside stairs. And they said, no, they can't do that because it's they're not covered for compensation. And I was like, that's bullshit.
Thank you.
My ex-husband had a janitorial and maintenance business. So there are different categories of compensation.
Yes.
the higher the risk, the higher the premiums.
The rate, yeah, the premium, exactly.
So obviously,
They're not paying.
they're
it.
not paying. And to be perfectly frank, the service that they provide is not that great. So like, yeah, you can't have your staff vacuum a stair, vacuum or, wash or whatever you have to do on stairs. But you expect, 83 and 87-year-old people to do it? That's not meeting the needs of people.
No,
That's
cruelty.
That's
cruelty.
It is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm waiting to have surgery on my neck because I have some bad discs in my neck. And I have, I can't vacuum. I can't push and pull a vacuum. I can't do windows.
Yep.
My windows are so dirty.
It's the motion of
yeah. Anything to do with my arms, I can't do. Usually I have pain from my elbow to my hand.
Yes.
But nevertheless, there's simply some things that I can't do anymore.
Yeah.
So I have to get help to do it. And one day I said, "Oh, would you mind running the mop behind the toilet?" No, can't do that.
What? I'm just. It's crazy.
It's
right?
silly. Like if these individuals were working in a hotel, anywhere else, they would be expected to do that, right?
Of course they would.
But excuse me. Thank you.
Here you go, love.
I have allergies too.
That's
and
okay.
And this cottonwood's not helping.
Oh, trust me.
No,
I
it's the
understand.
time. Yeah, it's just everywhere right now.
Looks like it's
isn't it?
snowing out there right now.
I know it's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many things that and then leadership wonders why everyone's so unhappy.
Yeah.
And it's just, the services that they apparently they used to have hot meals at the youth center for kids.
Yep.
Years ago.
Yep.
And they haven't had them for a while because
Those kids went for those things.
I know some of those kids, it's the only hot meal they get in the day.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of them. It's somebody else cooked a hot meal. They're only eating like probably sandwiches and God
Craft
knows
dinner
what
and
else,
wieners
craft dinner.
and bologna and ugh.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, so I asked.
What happened?
I said to him, like, what happened to, like, is it a budget cut? He goes, no, the money is there. The staff doesn't have the certification to prepare and serve. I said, well, that seems like a pretty easy fix to me.
Yeah.
Like, either train them or get someone
somebody
in who can do it.
Thank you.
And it's just like,
Defies logic in some ways.
like, I'm not highly educated, but I have pretty good common sense. And
But
realistically,
it doesn't exist there.
counsel, common sense, oxymoron.
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's so frustrating. The home care issue is quite a significant one because we have quite a few elderly people.
Well, I think it's up over about 700 now, I think.
Yeah.
That's just living in the communities.
Living in the communities.
Yeah. What about
exactly.
outside of the communities?
Outside, it's higher. So
I'm sure.
Because there's many that aren't even able to come home. I mean, I have an uncle who lives in an apartment in Vancouver, and I know he's struggling because when I reach out to him and ask him for a coffee, he's like, "Do you have $50 for food?" like what?
Oh yeah, I know.
And I mean, it's not like I'm not laughing. I'm just like, wow. So what is going on that's going to be the first response back?
And I do feel bad for all of the people who live off reserve because they are getting a raw deal. They're really getting a raw deal.
They should be getting something that kind of offsets what's going on because it would be reasonable because we're not housing everybody. and we're not reasonably in any lifetime able to house people through the fact that it's so sporadic how they're dealing with it, and they're changing that anyways. They're changing how that's being done anyhow.
Yeah.
Yet they're building thousands of units for which, you know, I was talking to MST, which is Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish's development company.
Yeah.
I was talking to their CEO, and he was telling me, because I got in an uproar over the Sňwx project and I ripped a new one and sent a letter to all of them.
Good for you.
He actually responded to me and told me that it wasn't MST's involvement in the project. They were kicked out of Sňwx quite a long time ago in the development phase of things because they didn't want their advice. And so MST backed out, but not before they got an idea of what was going on and, you know, what was being developed. And I mean, I had an issue with MST's development too, because they were telling me that they were going to have so many acres of green in this 98-acre development. But you know what green qualifies for in a major development? The grass on the fucking sidewalk. That's green space.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, dude, how much green space are you planning to put in there if you're putting grass in there? I said, what is the matter with you people? It's just...
Okay, I'm gonna.
So,
we have a limit to how much we can record. Let me ask you two final questions here, Linda. And the first one is, what does ceremony mean to you?
It touches my soul. Having been raised in the Catholic Church and being, as I grew up, and I started being disillusioned with the church quite young. Probably when I was still in elementary school. I've always believed in a higher power. I don't use the word God. I use the word creator. And I believe spirituality, ceremony it's very personal for every individual. It touches everyone in a different way. I don't attend a lot of winter ceremony anymore, because unfortunately it's become quite political.
I've heard that about some of the...
Yeah. And it... I think everything in our tradition, it's losing its original meaning. And I don't really like to talk about it all of that much, because some very hurtful things have occurred to me. And for me, it's just, I have a relationship with my creator, and I just pray every day that I can be grateful for every minute that I'm, walking on this earth. And and my spirituality is getting more important to me as I get older. I'm not afraid of death, because I believe this is our hell here. We're in hell now. And how much we suffer is on us. How we treat other people. I can be the nicest, sweetest individual in the world, and I tell people this all the time. If you try and push me, you can push me so far. If you try to push me too far, wherever you're trying to send me, you're coming with me. But I just treat everybody like I want to be treated. I wanted to be treated with kindness, with respect. And that's how basically I'm living my life. And I don't go to church because I truly believe that most people who go to church every Sunday are some of the most evil people on the face of the earth. And I have no ties to any religion anymore. So that's my own spirituality. And I can remember as a child, my mom used to tell me the story of her being with her ta'a, and her ta'a telling her about if you hear the bells, run.
Wow.
Wow.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's not, yeah. It's all in here.
Things that stay with you.
It's not, it should never, ever come from just from here. Anything that we do in our lives has to come from our mind and from our soul and our heart. And that's my spirituality.
Connecting them.
Who would you like
Cool.
to dedicate this podcast to? Or parts of it? Just
I'm
kidding.
trying to be good.
Great.
I would like to dedicate this to my mother, my aunts and my uncles, and all of my ancestors. Yeah, for sure. Although I didn't know my grandfather, I talked to him all the time. So yeah, definitely to my family. Definitely.
Well, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And please, by all means, ladies, go ahead. I'll break down the camera and the equipment. But Linda, thank you so much for coming on the Our Storytellers podcast. And you're more than welcome to come hang out whenever you just need to chat.
Thank you very much.
And have a tea.
I really appreciate the opportunity because I think it's important. It's important to know, who we are, where we come from, who our family is, and maybe to help people understand the situations that are going on in the community right now. And it's an excellent opportunity. So, many hoochkas. That was my tissue.